Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we are able to showcase some of the work our past students have done. I'm Charlotte, one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have Wesley with us, who did one of our Future Scholars Program courses. So firstly, Wesley, can you just introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what year you are in school and your age, and then what your academic interests are.
Hi, my name's Wesley Leeroy, and I attend the Richard Montgomery High School in Maryland, and I am a 12th grader. Um, and some of my interests are artificial intelligence, economics, and basically social science and combining the two.
And then which Future Scholars Program course did you do?
I took the computational economics and social science, networks and modeling of the real world.
And can you give us a general overview of what this course was about?
So it was about how we can use network modeling, which is a type of like computer science based model, which you can code, and it has various things like nodes, which are basically objects that represent different things like businesses and people and the interactions between them, like which are called connections or edges. And we can calculate different centrality measures and different um, numbers and things that represent how valuable each of these things are. And we can use this in all sorts of things in society to basically predict or tell how valuable and the relationship things are between all sorts of things in the world.
And what interested you in taking this particular course?
I first heard of this course because of my UMD internship, where my academic counselor recommended it to me as an excellent opportunity for students who are passionate about research. And I did some searching online and I found it to be pretty prestigious. And I like the idea of being able to work with professors, especially ones with really good education. And I was interested in taking this course because I was interested in learning new things such as like economics and how I can apply that to different aspects that I'm already strong in.
And had you had experience with this particular kind of field of economics before taking this course, or was this a new area for you?
This was a relatively new area for me because, well, I've never taken an economics course at school, but actually this year I am taking IB economics. So, um, I thought it would be pretty interesting because my brother actually goes to University of Texas at Austin, and he is in like a business program. So I decided, maybe I'll learn something new and just learn what he's sort of learning and see how this type of course at CCIR compares with other types of courses that I might learn in the future.
Great. So now we're going to shift to discussing your specific research topic, or yeah, for your paper. So firstly, can you tell us what your paper was titled or what the general kind of gist of your topic was?
So my paper's title is The Impact of U.S. Energy Policy on Renewable Growth, Empirical Evidence from Network Models and AI Applications. And it focuses on investigating U.S. renewable energy growth and using different techniques, such as ones that I already knew, like AI techniques, like long short-term memory and neural networks, as well as network models that I learned from the class. And they're significant because they go beyond the traditional forecasting methods that are used to predict renewable energy growth. And um, I included various factors like U.S. energy policy, technology innovations, and international trade partners that will have a huge impact on the growth of renewable energy. And ultimately, my goal was to find what and predict what the renewable energy was going to be in a certain number of years and what we can do to actually achieve the goal.
Interesting. And what were your research methods for your paper, and what was your process for kind of finding that data, or did you do the models yourself, and what was that like?
So first, I had to obviously find the data. So I made sure to find reliable sources like dataweb.gov, and like Bloomberg data. And once I got the data, which was really sort of like the hardest part, I was able to go and process the data, find the data that I thought would be the most important for my project. And once I did that, I used two different types of AI models. Well, one of them was a traditional statistic method called ordinary least squares regression. And then I used that with long short-term memory models, which are more accurate when finding a relationship between nonlinear data. And once I did this, I went through a lot of testing and a lot of seeing how I can change my code so that I can make it as accurate as possible. And once I did that, I was able to predict the the future renewable energy growth up until 2030, and I was able to graph it, and it looks. I was able to see like a relatively nice pattern in the renewable energy growth in the U.S. And that was basically the data collecting method. And after that, I just did a discussion and policy implications at a conclusion.
And then were there any kind of maybe interesting findings or maybe things that you weren't expecting to see in your paper?
I wouldn't say there was necessarily anything that surprised me or shocked me. It was more of actually finding the number that was necessary to the number that was the predicted growth and also the policies changes that are needed in order to actually achieve it. And so I wouldn't say there was anything that surprised me.
What would you say were kind of maybe the importance of your findings to the field or to the general public?
So the conclusion that I found was that in order to reach the government's 2030 renewable energy objective, which is for the US, it's I believe the government said that they wanted to triple the renewable energy use in America, and which is quite a lot. So at a
Yeah.
first glance, that seems almost unachievable. So when I did my model to predict how much we were actually going to get, it was nowhere near that. And I did some math and I found that we would have to increase the best way to actually achieve that goal was to change the government policies because there's a lot of things that we can't control, like trade between countries and which allows us to grow our US renewable energy as well as the other countries. But the one that's actually somewhat in our control is the government policy, such as like the subsidies and the energy credits. And I found that we have to boost energy credits by at least 20% in order to bridge the gap between current renewable energy outputs and our 2030 objectives. And in the future, I hope that obvious that this research paper gets published and hopefully some of the government policymakers will actually be able to read it and implement some of these policies changes, but that is likely not going to happen. But ultimately, my goal is to spread more information that's based off of real science and real math to actually achieve these goals that we have set for ourselves.
I think that's a great paper and a very kind of relevant topic for where the world is heading. So now we're gonna shift into discussing just your general experience with CCIR. So firstly, can you tell us what your experience was doing a program in a high-level research project like this was as a high school student?
Yeah, so this was definitely something new that I hadn't really been too familiar with before. Um, these classes were really, really small. There were only like 4 to 5 kids in our class, and we were from different parts of the US. Even though it's international, I don't think there were any international kids in my class, but um, we were able to get like really personal with our mentors because there were only so many of us, and to be able to apply what we learned in this class with what we were interested in. I thought that was a really good experience. Even though a lot of the stuff that we covered in class, we didn't really cover, or a lot of us didn't really use them on our actual paper, but a lot of the information was very interesting regardless. And I like the fact that we were able to share our findings with each other and maybe use one method that our classmate used in our own research paper, or at least um, use it as innovation for what we want to do or what something that's really interesting for us. And I remember back in 6th grade, that was my first experience with research. We had to do like a rare earth elements project that combined science, math, and computer science. And I remember at that time just going into middle school and having to write a research paper. It was a huge change for me, and my perspective on doing research and writing papers wasn't really I didn't really like it that much. But as I got older and up until high school, I decided to, try it out and actually take a course. And throughout this course, I found it a lot more enjoyable than what I found research to be like back in 6th grade. So I was able to nurture a better liking and understanding of real research with a professor, and I believe this course really helped me do that.
Right. And I think you made a great point earlier about working with the other students that even though your research projects weren't the exact same topic, they're intertwined enough to where it's really helpful to hear what other students are doing, which I think is something that a lot of our Future Scholars Program students experience. So my next kind of point to the audience, just to let everyone know, in these programs, we really like to emphasize the aspect of mentorship as opposed to the traditional teacher, where our mentors don't just transfer information onto you as a student, but really guide you through your own discoveries and learning process. So can you tell us what your experience was like with your mentor and your TA as you moved through the first teaching half of the course into the latter research-oriented half of the course, how they guided you through that journey?
So my main mentor was Professor Danielle Cassis, and my TA was Arun Kumar, and they both helped out greatly throughout just teaching new topics as well as helping me with my research paper. And throughout the beginning few weeks, we focused more on, what a network model is, different types of it. For example, we went over like, I believe it's called like the Medici family in like Italy or something a few hundred years ago, where basically he gave us an example of how different families and different groups of people with different amounts of statuses, how they interact with each other, and how you can calculate how one is more valuable uh, or more popular than another. And as we went along through the course, we went through more specific centrality measures that use different equations to calculate actually like the weights and the values of each node and each business or person or whatever it may be inside of the model. And so those were like the first few weeks of the course. And then as we got later into it, about week maybe 5 or 6, we started actually coming up with ideas for our research, such as just like brainstorming what we are interested in and finding existing research. So after that, it was more of like individual getting to know what we're actually up to. So we would spend some of the classes, like each person would spend 15 to 20 minutes talking with the mentors in front of each other so we could see what our ideas were. And we spent these 15-20 minutes every class learning about other people's ideas and how we can improve them. And yeah.
Right. And then since you took kind of a niche or more specific course, can you tell us what it was like having access to a course like this compared to your high school courses or even many undergraduate level courses that are a bit more broad, like, economics 101, for example?
So I think the main difference between high school and this course was the amount of freedom that we got to have. So a lot of the information that we learned was important for what we wanted to research actually in our paper. But at the same time, during the classes, I could see some of the knowledge that we were learning wasn't too useful and it seemed a little too complex even for my paper. So the fact that I didn't have to use every single piece of information into what I found interesting was definitely relieving, and it gave me a sense of freedom. Because at school, when we're taking like IB economics or like AP calculus, we have to learn pretty much every single part of the course, and it like builds on the ideas of the stuff that you already learned, and it can get overwhelming for some people if you don't understand it. But for this course, we had a greater sense of freedom, and we were able to sort of pick and choose the type of information that we wanted to really dive deeply into.
And then just a few more questions. Firstly, has this course given you any insights into your future, either maybe your career goals or even, what you're thinking of studying in uni?
Um, I think that what this course really helped me do was to teach me that in the future, I will be able to implement multiple types of subjects and disciplines in order to create solutions in the future. Like, for example, before this course, I might never have thought about combining computer science and artificial intelligence with network modeling and certain aspects of economics and government policy. So being able to write a research paper and spend so many hours and a lot of energy um, researching something that took an interdisciplinary approach was really helpful, because in the future, in college and beyond college, you can't just solve every problem with just one subject or one topic. You can't just solve chemistry problems with just chemistry. You need to implement, all types of things like math and science and computer science and even social science, and be able to use them together in order to create more complex solutions for our complex problems. So I do definitely think that that is a major takeaway of this course, being able to combine different subjects.
And then my last question for you, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
I would say that the most important thing is to form connections and be able to learn how to actually interact with professors and mentors, because I would definitely say that college is probably it's probably really different from high school right now. Obviously, I've never taken a college class or been to university or anything like that, but this definitely is like a sort of step stool for the future because I won't be like just transitioning from high school teachers to college professors. So being able to interact and form connections with professors from really prestigious universities like Cambridge, being able to even get like a letter of recommendation from him. These things are really useful because you'll be able to learn how to interact with professors and just people in general as you transition to college.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So that's the end of our interview. Thank you so much for chatting to me. Congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Thank you so much.